Earlier today, View host Sunny Hostin coming under fire for attempting to justify the protests at the Supreme Court at their justices' homes. Here's what she said.
While I think it is terrible that a justice would have to go into hiding, I think it is really clear to the justices now that, as Anna mentioned, 64 to 66% of Americans believe that the Supreme Court should uphold Roe v. Wade, right? And so that being said, maybe these protests and maybe this outcry gives Chief Justice Roberts some leverage for a more moderate approach.
Well, that's kind of strange. She actually thinks it's still an issue that hasn't been decided. Right. And by the way, as we bring our panel back, Ryan Helfenbein and Melanie Collette, Ryan, essentially, if 66% of the people are pro-choice, then at the state level, they'll be able to manifest that because that's what this ruling does. It doesn't have a national law. There never was one, except the one created by the Supreme Court in 1973.
That's exactly right. It would go back to the states, and the states ultimately need to be the ones to define this, and it goes back to the legislatures really to make these determinations for each state. I would just say, and I would be remiss not to say this, if mob mentality, mob psychology, and these mob tactics can overturn a justice's decision, we have a real problem in this country with jurisprudence.
No, I think that's a great point. Now, Melanie, I want to ask you about this. I mean, you know, we're seeing that a lot of these protests, depending on where you are, what state you're in, they're either illegal, certainly potential intimidation factor here, but at the same time, earlier when we were hearing President Biden talk about it, he wasn't quite as hard on these people as maybe he would have been if, say, these were, I don't know, Donald Trump fans. And I think we just see that the difference of it's okay to protest if you agree with us, with the left, but you are a horrible person if you're protesting something we don't agree with us. How is it that this keeps happening in our country again and again?
Well, if nothing else, the left is consistent. We saw it with the BLM protests during the pandemic. The left took the same tack. There was no COVID, if you recall, during those protests.
Right,
they were
right.
ready to,
no problem. Yeah, it doesn't count. Masks optional.
No mask and gather in mass. But Sunny has completely missed how the Supreme Court works. They do not base their judgments on feelings. And this is just another situation where the left is emoting instead of thinking. That is not the way things work. We do not emote. We think, and the Supreme Court does not emote. It thinks, and it bases its decision on the Constitution. And for her to say that, it's just one of the most ridiculous comments I've ever heard. And it's like she completely ignores what the Supreme Court's purpose and what they are supposed to be doing, what they are charged with doing. And I should hope that the Supreme Court absolutely positively does not take that into consideration.
Yeah, I don't see any way in the world they change it. They've already had their vote. It's at least 5-4, and they've written a majority of decision. It's not like they go back, oh, no, we're going to go minority. You write it now. Also wanted to turn your attention to this. Lawmakers in New York are trying to put a damper on prom night for many teens across the city. Now, the reports are they're trying to allow only vaccinated students to attend. 5 Big Apple Republicans, 2 Democrats have written a letter to the city's health commissioner protesting the policy, one that Mayor Eric Adams' office says is still being evaluated. But as City Council Minority Leader Joe Borelli points out, many kids didn't buy tickets because of that. The deadline to do so has already passed. Now, I'm emoting here a little bit, not just thinking, because Melanie, these kids have put up with enough. Let them go, for goodness sake. Let's get on with life.
And it's prom. Hello?
Yeah, prom night.
Prom.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who's vaccinated that hasn't had COVID? Let's just be honest. So, like, what are they doing? And they're going to school every day, unvaccinated, so they can't go to the prom for a couple hours unvaccinated. Right. There's no consistency, no intellectual honesty, and it makes absolutely no sense. And that's why the whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah, Ryan, I just want to kind of bring you in on this one. I mean, I think for me, prom for so many high school students is such an epic, memorable day, but also there's so much about even people who never went to their prom, they say they may have had these life regrets that it actually is so upsetting, especially, I'm going to say, to kids that age, especially
Just
when
let 'em
everyone
go.
wants to belong,
Just let 'em go.
and then
Yeah.
you're actually being left out. Ryan, your take on this,
Yeah.
even down the road?
Yeah, by the people in power.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. I'm on a campus of a major university, by the way, and you're going to lock this into the memory of every student moving forward. This is how you shape the voting pattern of a future generation. You double down on stupid, and you do stuff like this, and you make them pay for it. So yeah, we already canceled their graduation just a couple of years ago, and now we're still doing the same thing. This used to be follow the science. Now it's resist the people. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm going to remember that because I've done it more than once, doubled down on stupid, Ryan. So I'll try not to take that personally, but I love the line. Ryan, thank you so much. And Melanie, always a pleasure having you. Have a great afternoon.